Hey Budget Gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I share free items you can get for your garden. So let's go. The items I'm going to talk about today are not items that you get on sale or buy on the clearance rack at the end of the season. And they're also not items that are one-off where you find it at a yard sale or you just happen to find it on Facebook Marketplace. These are items that I can consistently get for free, and I figured I should share them with you because you might be able to as well. And while I'm sharing this information with you, I'm also going to be potting up a whole bunch of lettuce that I started from seed. They really need to be potted up, so it's a great time to do it. This list is definitely not fully inclusive. It includes everything that I could think of, but I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch of other free things that you can get your hands on that are gardening related. Let's start with sawdust. That's something that you can typically get if you have a lumber mill close to your house. Sawdust can be used in a number of ways in your garden. One way that I use it is I add it to my compost pile. It makes for a great brown material, and it also is in small pieces, which is really nice. That means it breaks down quickly in my compost bin. You can also use the sawdust around your dahlia tubers as well as other tubers, bulbs, and corms that you're trying to overwinter. Another way you can use that free sawdust is as a garden mulch in your garden, because a lot of times water evaporates quickly, and rather than keep watering plants, you can definitely sprinkle some sawdust around it as a mulch. Wood pallets are another thing you can get for free. A lot of times you'll find them on the side of the road, but also many times businesses get deliveries and they end up with an excess of wood pallets and they don't know what to do with them. It's definitely worthwhile to ask around when it comes to those wood pallets if you're not finding them very easily. I've used wood pallets to create my own compost bin, and it was really easy to do that with those wood pallets. But you can use wood pallets for all sorts of different garden projects. You can make a pathway with them. You can make really neat fencing with them. You can even turn them into small little gardens and put vegetables or flowers in them. Really, the projects are endless when it comes to DIY projects involving wood pallets. In the fall time, I have an overabundance of leaves, and that's not a bad problem to have. You can use the leaves whole or you can shred them up. I personally like to shred up my leaves using a leaf shredder, but you don't have to do that. You can take the leaves and you can add them to your compost pile because, again, it's a great brown material. You can use the leaves as mulch on your flower beds or in your vegetable garden. You can even use the leaves and turn them into leaf mold, and there are a lot of ways you can do that. A really easy way is to take the leaves, put them in a large black bag, add a little bit of water, close up the bag, and then just let the leaves sit there for a while in the bags. What will happen over time is the leaves will break down, and then you can eventually take that leaf mold and add it to your garden beds because it improves the soil structure very nicely. And if you don't have leaves in your own yard, maybe your neighbors do, or maybe other places in your local area do. So look around because a lot of times people are looking to get rid of their leaves. In fact, many times you can drive around and you'll find bags of leaves at the end of someone's driveway because they're waiting for the town to pick them up. You can oftentimes get them that way as well. Grass clippings, as long as they're pesticide free, are also a great thing you can use in your garden. Grass is a nice green material. It's full of nitrogen, and you can add that to your compost bin. You can also add light layers of it as a mulch around your flower and vegetable gardens. And some people even use the grass clippings as fertilizer in a lot of different ways. In one way that I use the grass clippings as a fertilizer is I use it actually on my lawn. When I mow, I put the mulcher setting on, and I basically am returning the grass clippings back to my lawn, and that adds extra nitrogen for my lawn, which is really nice. One thing of caution when it comes to certain things like those green materials like grass clippings or even certain brown materials, you don't want to add too much of them at once if you are going to apply them in your garden beds. You want to add them in small amounts over time. Paper is something that I often have a lot of, and it's free. But you want to use paper that doesn't have any dyes on it or any sort of waxy material. I like to use a paper shredder and shred up my paper into small pieces, and then it ends up going in my compost bin. One place that I get paper from is when I have deliveries, let's say on Amazon. Oftentimes in the boxes they have brown paper in there, so I just put that through my shredder. Also, sometimes when I go grocery shopping, The groceries come in brown paper bags, and sometimes when you have food that you're taking home from a restaurant, they may put the food in a paper bag as well. If you like to drink coffee like I do, well, don't be throwing away those coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are wonderful for your garden because they are high in nitrogen. They're actually considered a green material even though they're a brown color. I like to save my coffee grounds and put them in my compost pile. And if you don't drink coffee, you can still get coffee grounds. I like to go to Starbucks, and they often have bags of used coffee grounds sitting out for anyone to take because they know a lot of people like to use them in their compost bin. And if you don't have a Starbucks near you, it doesn't hurt to call a local coffee shop and see if they can hold or save their coffee grounds for you so that you can use them for your composting needs. Another thing you can get for free oftentimes are pots. I use pots all the time. I'm constantly potting up plants. As you know, I have a backyard plant nursery. I also sell plants, so I need pots for that. And since I grow a lot of plants indoors, many times I'm potting up my plants, so I'm always needing pots of different sizes. Well, pots are expensive if you buy them, but you don't have to buy them. Many times you can go on Facebook Marketplace and people are giving away pots for free. Or you can ask family, friends, neighbors. A lot of people buy plants and then they're stuck with the pots and they don't know what to do with them. So you can get pots that way. And then sometimes garden centers will have a recycling area and you can find free pots in there. I love to use toilet paper and paper towel rolls. Now, I know almost everyone should have those in their house. So that's a nice free item that you can use for a lot of different things. One way you can use those is you can shred them up and put them in your compost pile because they are a brown material. Another way you can use them is for seed starting. They are biodegradable, and that means that they're going to break down over time. And they're perfect for those plants that have a long taproot or plants that don't like to have their roots disturbed, something like sweet peas, let's say. Another item that I thought of that a lot of us have that we can use for our gardening purposes are food containers. You know, sometimes you go to the grocery store and you get a rotisserie chicken, or you get a thing of muffins like blueberry muffins or a cake. There's lettuce, basically anything that comes in some sort of a plastic container. You can reuse those for your gardening purposes. You can use them for starting seeds. If you use them for indoors, definitely they make a nice little mini greenhouse. You can even use them for outdoors for winter sowing. You can use a lot of your containers for potting up plants. Containers like yogurt containers, for example. And speaking of yogurt containers, you can use those containers not only for potting up plants, but also you can cut up your yogurt containers and you can use those cut up pieces as plant labels in pots like these. Another food related container that I like to use are milk jugs. I love to do winter sowing with my milk jugs, but you can also use those milk jugs as a cloche. My mother-in-law used to do that when she used to have tomatoes that she put outside and there was still a chance of a frost, and she used those inverted milk jugs as a cloche, which I thought was really neat. And another food container item that is basically free if you like to go out to eat, like in restaurants, and they give you those takeout containers that have usually a black bottom to them and then the top is plastic. I like to use those for seed starting, but some people use them for winter sowing as well, which is just outdoor seed starting. So you can see there are actually a number of items that you use in your kitchen that are related to food that you can also reuse for gardening purposes. Another item is egg cartons. A lot of them are biodegradable. You can also use those for seed starting. A free item that I'm pretty sure every household should have is food scraps. That could be vegetable or fruit food scraps. It could be your eggshells. There are a lot of food scrap items that you can use in your compost bin. And there are videos out there, including a video I made before, that shows you the items that you can take from your kitchen and put into your compost bin. And when it comes to those food scraps, you don't have to have an above ground compost bin. You can definitely compost in the ground. There are so many different ways you can compost. It doesn't have to be very complicated. In fact, I highly suggest you look into composting if you've never done it. It's such a fun, such a neat way to create your own fertilizer using a lot of things that you already have in your own house. Another item that you can get for free are wood chips. You can reach out to local tree companies or arborists and see if they have wood chips that they can deliver to your house for free. And even though I've never used it, you can use something like Chip Drop and sign up for that, and they'll drop off wood chips as well to your house. And sometimes you can choose what kind of wood chips you want to have delivered to your house and which kinds you don't want to. So just know that as well. Cardboard boxes can be used for a lot of different things. A common way that people use their cardboard boxes is they break them down, they remove the tape, and they basically use it as a weed barrier, basically for sheet mulching. And that's especially true if you're trying to make a new garden space in your yard. The next free item that you might be able to get is compost or soil. Check with your local town transfer station. Some people call it the dump. Other people call it the local recycling center. Some of those places have a pile of compost that they let you take for free. In fact, the recycling center near my house has an area where I can do that. So it's worthwhile to call the local dump and see if they have a compost pile that you can take from. Animal manure. There are a lot of people out there that have all sorts of livestock, like let's say horses or chickens, alpaca, cows, and some places sell their animal manure, but there are a lot of places that will give it away for free. I know where I live, pretty much everyone gives away horse manure for free. You just go on Facebook Marketplace and you can find all sorts of people that are giving it away for free. Just be mindful that some types of animal manure do have weed seeds in it, so I usually like to compost mine. I like to heat it up to kill off the weed seeds, and also just make sure that the animal manure that you're getting does not have any sort of chemicals or pesticides in it. One thing I love to get for free is seeds. You can collect your own seeds from all sorts of flowers as well as vegetables. And that's pretty cool. And they don't have to be from your own yard. Maybe you have a neighbor, family, friend, a local park that has flowers or vegetables that are going to seed. Definitely collect your own seeds. It is such an easy and fun way to create more plants for free. And if you are trying to create plants that are identical copies to the parent plant, then you'll want to make sure you're collecting your seeds from open pollinated or heirloom plants. But if you collect the seeds from what are called hybrid plants, the seeds may create a plant, but it might not be an identical copy to the parent. I normally don't mind that when it comes to my flowers, but if that's important to you, just be aware of that. You may also be able to get seeds for free from your local library, because some libraries actually have an area where people can take seeds for free. There were seeds that were donated to the library. So definitely check with your local library. And then finally, many times local universities or local cooperative extensions have a program where they're giving seeds for free. So check with them as well. Another way you can get free items for your garden is by basically getting plants to overwinter. And they don't have to be plants that you bought. In fact, a friend of mine that's part of a garden club had planted a bunch of geraniums, pelargoniums, at the local town offices. And she contacted me last year and said, hey, the frost is coming. Do you want some free plants, some free geraniums? Well, I definitely wanted them, so I went, dug them up, and I was able to overwinter them. And now they're waking up, and they look beautiful. So you can definitely get your hands on free plants, especially if someone that you know, like, again, it could be a close family member. Maybe they don't want to overwinter. They're canna lilies or they're calla lilies, plants that are basically going to die. Oftentimes you can get those for free. And then a final way that I could think of that you can get plants for free is by propagating your own plants. There are so many ways you can do that. If you have even just one plant in your yard that's a perennial, you can divide it and you can create more free plants through that one perennial plant. And if you have more than one perennial in your yard, just think about how many free plants you can get. And it's not just your yard, it might be other people too. Oftentimes, actually, you might have a family member that has way too many of a certain type of daylily, for example, and they want to get rid of a bunch of them. That's a great way to get free plants. And division is not the only way you can get your free plants. You can also do what's called cuttings. You can take hardwood cuttings, softwood cuttings, semi-hardwood cuttings. There are trees and shrubs. There are plants in your yard. Lots of different ways you can get cuttings from your own yard. And I can't stress it enough, not just your own yard, but other people's yards as well. For example, my sister-in-law has a really nice mock orange. I've said it for a number of years. She knows it, that I really want to take cuttings from her mock orange. Hopefully this will be the year. And other than taking divisions as well as cuttings, there are so many other ways that you can get plants for free. Another way is called layering. And if you don't have any plants in your yard that you can divide or that you can take cuttings from, check Facebook Marketplace, because many times there are people that have an overabundance of a certain plant and they don't want them anymore, and they've put that out there for free. I found a nice lady last year, in fact, she wanted to have her flower beds thinned out, and she said, come and get whatever perennials you want, just help thin out my flower beds. Well, I was right there, and I was excited with the amount of plants that I was able to get from her house. And by thinning out her plants, now her plants will be healthier as well, because they really did need to be divided. So I hope that this gave you some ideas on how you can expand your own gardens by getting free items either within your own yard or within your own house or someone else's yard. And tell me, is there any other items that are not just one-offs, but that someone else like me or my neighbor or my friend can also get for free that can be used for the garden? Drop it down in the comment section below, and until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.